Captain Daniel Mercer adjusted his flight controls, eyes locked on the massive, drifting spaceship ahead. It hung in the void like a silent tomb, its dark metal hull covered in ancient scars. The ship had no name, no beacon, no sign of life. Just a weak power signature, barely enough to be noticed. Mercer had seen plenty of derelicts in his years as a deep space salvager, but something about this one felt wrong. It wasn't just the size, bigger than any human battleship. It wasn't just the eerie silence. It was something deeper, a feeling in his gut, like he was being watched. "AI, scan the ship," he said, his voice calm but alert. His ship's onboard AI, VGA, responded instantly. "Scan complete. The vessel is approximately 900 years old. Origin unknown. Hull damage suggests battle scars, but no life support is active." Mercer frowned. "And the weak power reading?" "Source unknown. However, there is one unusual detail." A slight pause. "There is a faint life sign." Mercer sat up straight. A survivor? That was impossible. No one could survive centuries on a dead ship. Unless stasis. The idea of an intact stasis pod meant two things. One, the person inside could be valuable, maybe a lost explorer or soldier from an unknown war. Two, the ship might still have working tech he could salvage. And salvage meant money. Grabbing his plasma pistol, he put on his helmet and activated his suit's life support. With a quick command, the airlock cycled open, and Mercer stepped into the dark, dead ship. Inside, the silence was thick. His boots echoed as he walked through empty corridors, walls covered in strange, unreadable markings. The air smelled stale, untouched for centuries. There were no bodies, no skeletons, only dust and forgotten history. His helmet light flickered as he moved deeper, following VGA's navigation toward the life sign. He passed control panels that still flickered weakly with dying energy. This ship had been advanced, far beyond anything humanity had built. After several minutes, he reached a massive door. Unlike the rest of the ship, this one was intact, sealed by thick, reinforced metal. A single control panel beside it blinked weakly, waiting for a command. "The life sign is inside," VGA confirmed. Mercer hesitated. He had no idea what was behind that door. Could be a human, could be an alien, could be something worse. But he hadn't come this far to turn back. Taking a deep breath, he pressed the override button. The door shuddered, groaning against centuries of dust and rust. Slowly, it slid open, revealing a massive chamber bathed in a soft, green glow. And in the center, floating inside a containment field, was something he had never seen before. An alien. Not just any alien, a queen. Her body was tall and elegant, covered in smooth, dark exoskeleton-like armor. Her eyes were closed, her form completely still, trapped in a prison of forgotten time. Mercer took a slow step forward, his pulse quickening. What the hell had he just found? Mercer stared at the alien floating in the containment field. Her body was tall and sleek, covered in dark, smooth armor-like skin. Strange markings ran along her limbs, glowing faintly. Her face was different from any creature he had seen before, almost human in shape, but more elegant, more powerful. She wasn't just any alien. She was a queen. The air in the chamber was heavy, filled with an eerie hum from the flickering energy field. Mercer's fingers tightened around his plasma pistol. He didn't know if she was dangerous. He didn't even know if she was alive. But if the ship had locked her inside this prison, there had to be a reason. "VEGA, analyze the containment field," he whispered. The AI responded instantly. "The field is weak but still functional. It appears to be a high-level stasis lock, designed to keep the subject in suspended animation." Mercer exhaled slowly. Whoever built this ship didn't just trap her, they feared her. He stepped closer, scanning the control panel beside the chamber. Most of the system was dead, but one command still flickered on the ancient screen. Release SUBGCT. Emergency override required. His mind raced. Should he release her? Leaving her here meant she would remain frozen forever, a relic of a forgotten war. But if he set her free, she could be a threat. As he hesitated, the ship groaned. A deep metallic sound echoed through the halls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Something was wrong. VEJ. Report. Warning. Structural integrity failing. The ship is destabilizing. I detect multiple system failures. Mercer cursed under his breath. If the ship was dying, this chamber could collapse. He had to decide now. He looked at the alien queen again. Was she an enemy or a victim? He made his choice. Reaching out, he pressed the override command. The energy field flickered, then shattered with a crackling burst of light. The alien's body twitched. Her fingers curled and her eyes snapped open. Mercer froze. Her eyes were unlike anything he had ever seen. Glowing violet, filled with intelligence and confusion. For a moment, she didn't move. She simply floated, staring at him. Then, slowly, her feet touched the ground. She took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling as if waking from a long nightmare. Mercer raised his hands, showing he wasn't a threat. "Easy now," he said carefully. "I'm not here to hurt you." She tilted her head, studying him. Then she spoke. Her voice was smooth, alien, yet somehow regal. "Who are you?" Before he could answer, the ship trembled violently. Lights flickered. The warning alarms howled through the empty halls. The ship was collapsing. Mercer's heart pounded. He had freed her, but now they were both trapped on a dying ship, and time was running out. The ship trembled violently, metal groaning under the pressure of time and decay. Mercer stumbled, gripping the control panel to steady himself. The alien queen, now free from her prison, stood motionless, her glowing violet eyes scanning her surroundings. The alarms howled through the chamber. Warning. Structural integrity failing. Evacuate immediately. Mercer swore under his breath. He had made his choice to free her, but now they were running out of time. "We need to move," he shouted over the noise. The queen slowly turned her gaze to him. Her expression was unreadable, her body regal yet strangely calm despite the chaos around them. "You are human," she said, her voice carrying an unnatural strength. "Yeah, and you're about to die if we don't get out of here." Mercer snapped, motioning toward the exit. "Come on." The ship shook again, debris falling from the ceiling. The queen finally moved, stepping forward with grace, but her legs trembled slightly. Her body still weak from centuries of stasis. She suddenly staggered. Mercer reacted instantly, catching her before she collapsed. He felt a strange energy beneath her smooth armor-like skin, like static electricity humming beneath the surface. Her eyes flickered. "Too long. I have been asleep too long." Mercer gritted his teeth. He didn't have time for this. He shifted her weight onto his shoulder, helping her stand. "Stay with me. We're getting out of here." She looked at him again, her gaze softer this time, as if surprised by his actions. But before she could respond, a new sound filled the air, a deep mechanical whirring. Mercer's instincts screamed danger. He turned sharply, raising his plasma pistol. From the far end of the chamber, ancient security drones activated. Their red optics flared to life, scanning the room. The ship's last defense system had awakened, and it saw both of them as threats. A voice, robotic and emotionless, echoed through the chamber. "Prison breach detected. Eliminate all targets." The drones charged their weapons. Mercer fired first. His plasma shot struck one drone, sending it crashing to the ground. But there were more, at least 6 of them, hovering like silent executioners. The queen suddenly straightened. Strength returned to her limbs. Her hands crackled with energy. Then, in one swift motion, she raised her arm. A pulse of blue lightning shot from her fingertips, striking the drone midair. The machine exploded instantly, its metal shell disintegrating. Mercer's eyes widened. She had powers. The Queen's violet eyes burned with new intensity. These machines were made to keep me here. Her voice was sharper now, filled with anger. Well, they're doing a damn good job, Mercer muttered, firing another shot. The Queen took a step forward. The air around her shimmered as raw energy built up. I am no longer their prisoner. With a single motion, she unleashed a shockwave that sent the remaining drones crashing into the walls. Sparks rained down as they exploded, their circuits fried beyond repair. Mercer lowered his weapon, staring at her in shock. The Queen turned to him, her expression unreadable. "We must leave now," she said. "This ship will not last much longer." Mercer exhaled. Yeah, no kidding. The battle was over, but the real fight had just begun. The ship groaned like a dying beast, its metal frame cracking under pressure. Mercer didn't waste time. He grabbed the Queen's arm and pulled her forward. "We need to get to my ship. Now," he shouted over the noise. The Queen didn't resist. She moved beside him, her steps stronger now. The battle had awakened something inside her, power, rage, and a will to survive. They sprinted through the dark corridors, the flickering emergency lights casting eerie shadows. Every few seconds, the ship shook violently, debris crashing from the ceiling. The ancient vessel was dying, and they had only minutes before it collapsed into the void. Then, a new threat emerged. From the end of the hallway, more security drones activated, their red optics locked onto Mercer and the Queen. The ship wasn't just falling apart, it was still trying to kill them. Prisoner escape detected. Lethal force authorized. "Damn it," Mercer muttered, raising his pistol. The drones fired first. Bright red energy bolts sizzled through the air, forcing Mercer and the Queen to take cover behind a broken bulkhead. The Queen did not flinch. Instead, she stepped into the open, raising her hands. The electric blue energy crackled around her fingers. With a sudden burst of raw power, she sent a bolt of lightning arcing through the hallway. The first drone exploded instantly. The second fell to the ground, its circuits fried. The third managed to dodge, only to be crushed by an invisible force as the Queen clenched her fist. Mercer blinked. She wasn't just powerful. She was a walking storm. The Queen turned to him, her glowing violet eyes filled with determination. "Move." Mercer grinned. Yeah, no argument there. They ran again, dodging falling debris and sparks from ruptured power conduits. The air was getting thinner, the ship's oxygen systems finally failing. As they neared the docking bay, Mercer's ship, the Valiant, came into view. The sleek, dark gray vessel was already powered up, its engines humming softly. "VJ, open the airlock," Mercer shouted. The ship's AI responded instantly. "Airlock opening. Warning, rapid decompression detected." Mercer didn't slow down. He leaped across the last collapsing walkway, barely landing on the ramp. The Queen followed, moving with inhuman speed. The moment they were inside, the airlock sealed shut. Mercer rushed to the pilot's seat, hands flying over the controls. The Valiant's engines roared to life as he pulled the ship into full power. Behind them, the alien vessel gave one last, deafening scream, then collapsed into itself. The ancient wreckage was swallowed by the void, lost forever. Mercer exhaled heavily, hands gripping the controls. They had made it. He turned to the Queen. She stood tall, her expression unreadable. But in her eyes, there was something new. Not just survival, a purpose. Mercer had freed her. But what had he unleashed? The Valiant drifted through space, leaving the ruins of the alien ship behind. Inside the cockpit, Mercer exhaled, finally allowing himself to relax. His heart was still pounding. They had made it. Barely. He turned to the Queen. She stood near the viewing window, staring out at the endless stars. Her posture was strong, but there was something else. A deep sadness. Mercer cleared his throat. "So, you got a name." She remained silent for a moment before speaking. My people called me Silara. Silara, Mercer repeated, nodding. Well, I'm Captain Daniel Mercer, but you can call me Mercer. She turned to face him, her violet eyes studying him carefully. You freed me, Mercer. Why? He leaned back in his chair, rubbing the back of his neck. Honestly, at first, I thought you were just some lost survivor, but when I saw that ship falling apart, I couldn't leave you there. Silara tilted her head slightly. You risk your life. For a stranger. Mercer smirked. Yeah, well, I do crazy things sometimes. She didn't smile. Instead, she lowered her gaze, deep in thought. My prison, that ship, was not made by my enemies. It was built by my own kind. Mercer frowned. Wait, your own people locked you up. Silara's jaw tightened. Yes, I was a queen, but they feared me. Mercer crossed his arms. Why? She turned back to the stars. Because I was different. Stronger. I could do things others could not. Her hands crackled slightly with residual energy. My power made me a threat. So they betrayed me, trapped me in that prison, and left me to be forgotten. Mercer exhaled slowly. He had seen a lot of things in his years as a salvager, but this was something else. So, what happens now? He asked. Silara's gaze hardened. If my people still exist, they will know I am free. Mercer didn't like the sound of that. And I'm guessing they won't be happy about it. She nodded. They will come for me. And they will come for you. Because you helped me. Mercer sighed. Great. So now I'm on some alien empire's most wanted list. Silara finally turned to face him fully. I did not ask for your help, Mercer, but you gave it anyway. So now I offer you something in return. He raised an eyebrow. And what's that? Her eyes glowed brighter. Power, knowledge, protection. Mercer smirked. Sounds like a deal. With a price. Silara stepped closer. If we stand together, we can fight them. We can make them fear us. Mercer exhaled, staring at the queen of a forgotten empire. He had just wanted a salvage job. Instead, he had just started a war. Mercer sat in the cockpit of the Valiant, his fingers drumming against the control panel. His mind raced. Silara's people had betrayed her, locked her away for centuries. And now that she was free, they would come looking for her. And for him. He sighed. So how long until your people realize you're gone? Silara stood near the viewing window, her violet eyes scanning the void. If they still exist, they will already know. Mercer frowned. How? She turned to face him. The prison ship had a failsafe. The moment it collapsed, a signal would have been sent. To them. Mercer groaned, rubbing his temples. Great. So they're already on their way. Silara nodded. Yes. And they will not show mercy. Mercer leaned forward, activating the ship's scanners. VEGA, scan for any incoming ships. The AI responded instantly. Long-range sensors detecting multiple signatures. Estimated arrival, 10 minutes. Mercer swore under his breath. They were fast. Too fast. They're already here, he muttered. Silara's eyes narrowed. Then we must decide. Fight or flee. Mercer clenched his jaw. He wasn't a soldier. He was a salvager, a pilot, a survivor. Fighting an unknown alien force was suicide. But running. That didn't sit right with him either. He looked at Silara. How strong are they? Her expression hardened. If it is my kind, then their weapons will be far superior to yours. Their ships will be faster. Their soldiers will be ruthless. Mercer sighed. Not exactly the answer I was hoping for. Silara stepped closer. But we have one advantage. He raised an eyebrow. Yeah. What's that? Her eyes glowed brighter, energy crackling around her fingertips. Me. For a moment, Mercer just stared at her. Then he smirked. Well, now you're starting to sound interesting. The ship's warning alarms suddenly blared. Hostile vessels approaching. Weapons systems locking on. Mercer snapped into action. He grabbed the flight controls, pushing the engines to maximum power. The Valiant shot forward, racing through the void as the enemy ships came into view. They were sleek, black, and deadly. Their hulls pulsed with strange, glowing symbols. 4 ships, faster than his, more advanced. A cold chill ran down Mercer's spine. They were hunting them. "They're gaining on us," VEGA reported. "Shall I engage countermeasures?" Mercer gritted his teeth. "We need more than countermeasures." Silera placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then let me help." Before he could respond, she closed her eyes. The air around her shimmered with raw energy. Suddenly, the ship's systems flared to life. The engines roared. The shields hardened. The weapons glowed brighter. Mercer's eyes widened. "What the hell did you just do?" Silera opened her eyes, her gaze filled with power. "I made us stronger." And just like that, the hunter had become the hunted. The Valiant roared through space, its engines burning brighter than ever. Mercer could feel the raw power surging through his ship. Something was different. Silera stood beside him, her glowing violet eyes locked onto the approaching enemy ships. Her hands crackled with energy, her presence radiating strength. Mercer's fingers tightened around the controls. "What did you do to my ship?" "I enhanced it," Silera said calmly. "Your technology is primitive, but with my energy, it is now more." Mercer had no idea what that meant, but he wasn't complaining. His ship was moving faster than ever, responding like it had a mind of its own. Behind them, the 4 enemy ships closed in. Sleek and deadly, they'd moved with terrifying precision, their weapons locking onto the Valiant. Then, without warning, they fired. Bright red plasma bolts screamed through space. "Hold on," Mercer shouted, pulling the controls hard. The Valiant spun sideways, dodging the first wave of fire. But the enemy wasn't done. More shots followed, faster and deadlier. One bolt clipped the ship's shields, sending a tremor through the cockpit. "Shields at 80%, VEGA reported. Mercer cursed. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. Silera stepped forward. "Let me strike back." Mercer hesitated. "With what? Our weapons can't match theirs." Silera raised her hand, her fingers glowing with raw energy. "I do not need weapons." Then she unleashed her power. A surge of blue lightning crackled through the cockpit. And suddenly, the ship responded. The engines flared, the shields pulsed, and the weapon systems, deadly plasma cannons that should not exist, came online. Mercer's eyes widened. "What the hell?" "VEGA, what just happened?" The AI's voice sounded almost confused. "Unknown energy detected. Weapon systems enhanced. Target lock established." Mercer didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed the controls and fired. The Valiant erupted with blue plasma fire, streaks of energy slicing through space. The first enemy ship was caught off guard. Its shields flickered, then shattered. The explosion sent debris flying in all directions. 1 down, 3 to go. The enemy fleet adjusted. They moved faster, firing in synchronized patterns, trying to overwhelm the Valiant. But Mercer was faster. His ship was alive, moving in ways he never thought possible. It twisted, dodged, and struck back with inhuman precision. Silera raised both hands, and another wave of energy surged forward. This time, it disabled one of the enemy ships completely. Its systems shut down, leaving it drifting helplessly in space. Mercer grinned. "Now we're talking." But the last 2 ships weren't finished. One of them vanished. Mercer's heart pounded. What the? Where did it go? Silara's eyes darkened. They are adapting. This fight is far from over. And in that moment, the battle had only just begun. Mercer's grip tightened on the controls as his eyes darted across the cockpit displays. One enemy ship was destroyed. Another was disabled. But the third ship had vanished. VEGA scanned for cloaked vessels. He barked. Scanning. No visible readings detected. Mercer cursed under his breath. The enemy ship hadn't just disappeared, it had hidden itself, and that meant it could strike at any moment. Celara stood still, her glowing violet eyes scanning the darkness outside. They are not gone. They are waiting. Mercer exhaled sharply. Yeah. Waiting for what? A deep hum shook the ship. Warning alarms blared across the cockpit. Energy spike detected. Incoming weapon signature. Then, boom. A massive energy blast struck the Valiant from nowhere, sending it into a wild spin. The lights inside the cockpit flickered as systems struggled to recover. Mercer fought to regain control. Damn it. That was a direct hit. Shields at 30%, VEGA reported. Another strike followed, this time from a different angle. Mercer barely dodged it. The enemy wasn't just cloaked. It was moving while invisible. They're toying with us, Mercer muttered, gritting his teeth. We can't fight what we can't see. Celara closed her eyes. A strange hum filled the cockpit. For a moment, Mercer thought she was in pain, but then a shockwave of blue energy burst outward from her body. And suddenly, the invisible ship was revealed. The alien vessel shimmered into view, surrounded by crackling blue lightning. Celara's energy had disrupted its cloaking system. Mercer didn't hesitate. He yanked the controls and unleashed a full barrage from the Valiant's plasma cannons. The enemy ship took the hit, hard. Its shields flickered and collapsed. The once invisible ship now drifted helplessly, smoke trailing from its engines. Mercer grinned. Now that's more like it. But before he could finish them off, the final enemy ship made its move. It didn't fire. It didn't run. Instead, it sent out a transmission. Celara's face darkened. They are calling for reinforcements. Mercer's stomach dropped. How many? Her eyes glowed brighter. All of them. Mercer didn't need to be told twice. VEJ, plot a jump. Get us the hell out of here. Jump coordinates locked. Engaging in 10 seconds. Mercer pushed the engines to full power, the ship trembling as the jump drive charged up. Celara stepped forward, staring at the enemy ship through the cockpit window. Her voice was cold. They will not stop. They will chase us to the ends of the galaxy. Mercer clenched his jaw. Then we'd better be ready. The Valiant gave one last burst of speed and vanished into hyperspace. But the war had only just begun. The Valiant shot through hyperspace, leaving the battle behind. Inside the cockpit, Mercer let out a long breath, his hands still tight on the controls. The adrenaline was wearing off, and exhaustion was settling in. They had won, for now. Celara stood near the viewing window, her glowing violet eyes staring at the endless blue stream of hyperspace. She had been silent since they escaped. Mercer leaned back in his chair. All right. Celara, we need to talk. She didn't turn. About what? Mercer exhaled. About them. Your people. The ones hunting us. Celara closed her eyes for a moment, then finally faced him. They are not just my people. They are my empire. And I was their queen. Mercer frowned. You keep saying that, but why would your own empire want to lock you up? Her expression darkened. Because I was different. Stronger. My power made them afraid. She lifted her hand, and crackling blue energy danced between her fingers. In my time, the empire ruled the stars without challenge, but power breeds fear. The High Council believed I would become uncontrollable. She clenched her fist, and the energy vanished. So they betrayed me. Mercer crossed his arms. So they put you in that prison ship and left you to rot. She nodded. They did not want to kill me outright. My energy is tied to my existence. If I were destroyed, the balance of their power could shift in unpredictable ways. Mercer frowned. What kind of empire needs to lock up its own queen just to survive? Celara's voice was cold. One that is built on control. Mercer sighed. And now that you're free, they're afraid you'll take revenge. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she turned back to the window. Perhaps they are right to be afraid. Mercer didn't like the way she said that. He sat up straight. See, Lara, what exactly do you plan to do now? She turned to him, her glowing eyes filled with something deep and unreadable. I do not know, but I cannot hide forever. The Empire will not stop hunting me. Mercer rubbed his face. Yeah, and now I'm in the middle of this mess too. See, Lara stepped closer. You saved me, Mercer, and because of that, I will not let you face this alone. Mercer sighed. Well, that's comforting. Suddenly, VEGA's voice interrupted. Warning. Hyperspace disturbance detected. Unknown gravitational anomaly ahead. Mercer frowned. What the hell does that mean? Before VEGA could respond, the ship jolted violently. Silara's eyes widened. Something is pulling us out of hyperspace. The blue tunnel of hyperspace shattered around them. The Valiant came to a sudden stop, right in the middle of an unknown star system. And in front of them was something Mercer had never seen before. A massive war fleet, waiting for them.